All right, what's going on? What's going on? You're probably in the wrong video, but here we are. And I guess it's AHTV and friends tonight, but not a whole hell of a lot to talk about. So if you who's watching this on Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or whatever, message us and give us something to talk about, please, because there's not much. I will definitely start things off soon, but just want to say hello, everybody, and happy 420. 420, 20. All right, yeah. So Charlie Walsh, my boy down there in the opposite corner. What's going on, Charlie?
Not much. I saw yesterday, obviously, the hat stakes got raised. And so I thought today I'd bring it in with a double hat situation. I thought that's the only way you can take it to the next level. You know?
Well, thank you. I love it. I love it. And you actually get us all to wear sunglasses tonight, so thanks. That's a good thing, though. All right, so Selly's filling in for. We were gonna have Gary on tonight, poor guy, but I don't know. Hopefully he's watching, and hopefully he'll be on in a couple days or so. But we're glad to have Selly back. Haven't had him on in a little while, so always love having Selly on. What's going on, Selly?
Oh, not too much. Yeah, I have a really interesting work schedule now because of all the COVID-19 stuff going on. So it's for me, it's 7 days of 12-hour shifts, and then it's 2 weeks off. So the 2 weeks are nice, but like once the second week starts, it gets a little, cabin feverish because you can't really do anything. But so today's day one of 14 days, I guess. So it's not bad.
And I don't know, whatever direction this way. David from Boston, my local brother here. Good to see you, David. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Hanging out, but what I like is that there's just a lot of platforms to hang out with your friends and stuff. So you can play video games or watch TV and like talk with them at the same time, which I appreciate.
Yeah. And again, I'll say this a million times, but my favorite show on this network is this one because I get to invite my friends from all over the world, and time zone pending or insomnia pending. I get to have good friends from UK and other countries as well, which is kind of cool. So anyway, it looks like the chat room is already blowing up. It's kind of neat.
Oh, yeah.
Nice to see everybody in there. If you have anything you want us to talk about, please say something, because I only have a few things we're going to talk about tonight. The first one is not technically West Ham related, maybe like once removed, I guess you'd say, because it's Samir Nasri. You remember him, right? Anybody remember Samir Nasri? Everybody? Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. So apparently he's set to be axed by Anderlecht, or however the hell you say that. I can't even say it. For going AWOL and refusing to contact the club. You guys heard this at all? Anybody hear anything about this?
I saw many stories and I wasn't surprised. I mean, I actually think when he was on the pitch with West Ham, he was pretty good. But you knew it wouldn't last. And then he had a slight injury, and then it didn't keep going. He's kind of the antithesis of a professional footballer. He's
great word.
If it's going well for me, it's going good. But if not, then it's not.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit. We talked about this all last season, really. These calf injuries and such that just didn't sound right to me. The guy he looked healthy. He looked great. It's just a matter of, I don't know, he wasn't getting along with anybody, or he realized that he was a class above everybody else. I don't know what the deal was, because when he played, he looked great. He made everybody else better around him. But these fake injuries, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. That seems to be a thing with him.
Might have been an issue too. I don't think maybe he felt he should have been starting more, because I know even sometimes you get the starting 11 and even the fans were like, why is this man on the bench? So that could have been a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, like Faguli. Charlie, what are your thoughts? You heard about this?
Yeah, the same with David. I heard it and I'm not surprised. Like the guy, he's super talented, but he clearly doesn't care anymore. Fair enough. Do your thing. Just don't be a dickhead about it, really. Came to us under auspicious circumstances, left us under much similar, and now he's at it again. It's not a shock, really, is it? Unfortunately for him, it's just the way his career is probably going to play out for the rest of the time now. Suspect he'll roll up in some rando league very quickly.
Yeah.
Probably end up in the MLS.
There's other. I don't know. I think that competition as well is beneath him. I think it's. I don't know. We'll see. But there's other players that remind me of his situation, or like players that remind me of him.
I could see him ending up in the French league.
Could be. Yeah.
Did he play for Olympique Marseille or
Monaco? Most recently, yeah.
In the French league.
Monaco most recently, yeah. And then but like Abdel Tarapt, or what's the other one? The fucking guy that
Abdel Tarapt. He was like awesome in FIFA 10.
He was dude. The guy's awesome. It's just he's got something fucking whacked with his brain.
There's a lot of good players.
Yeah. Hatem Ben Arfa, I think that's another one.
Yes, actually, I think the most random signing is Hatem Ben Arfa signed for Real Valladolid, but never got a chance to play because of COVID-19.
Jesus fucking Christ. So, yeah. What else we got here? Oh shit. Well. Oh yeah. This one is Wally in the chat. Is Wally here? Yeah. I think I saw Wally somewhere. Yeah, Wally's in the chat.
Yeah,
Great.
he's here.
So I should probably pull this one up. Yeah, just bear with me. You know what? You guys just shoot the shit for a second. I'm going to pull up an article, which is going to be kind of interesting.
While he does that, Sally and David, what's your pizza of choice?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Choice. Oh man. I think honestly it would depend on my mood because I am one of those people who does not mind pineapples on my pizza.
Okay.
But normally my go-to is like a meat lovers or a Supreme.
I'm a meat lovers.
Get some onion and pepper in that. So Supreme probably be my first go-to.
David, you saying same?
Yeah, no, I actually strangely, my mom is actually from Italy. I'm half Italian. She's from a very down south city called Lecce, hence the sunglasses. But it's more traditional, like margarita and a bunch of fresh ingredients. But I like sausage. I just like fresh pasta with sausage, maybe, and ricotta.
Yeah,
I can respect that.
I'm also a big fan of like Oh man. There's a place actually not too far from me, about maybe 10-15 minutes, called Old Town Pizza. They're pretty good. They're locally owned, so definitely try to support them during all this. See people kind of bashing me for the pineapple on the pizza. It's not bad. You guys got to give it a try.
I'm fine with it. I personally, I like a Hawaiian, for example. I'm into that.
Yeah, Hawaiian's not bad at all.
Yeah, I think the pineapple on pizza thing's overblown. I like pineapple on pizza. I like sweet corn on pizza as well. That's another sweet thing that I like on pizza. These are all options that I think people should try more often. Shouldn't be, so against.
Right. I've tried Alfredo sauce instead of pizza sauce on a pizza, and that's different.
Okay. I've never tried.
It's not. It's not bad. It throws you off, especially if you're not like paying attention to the fact that you have Alfredo sauce instead of pizza sauce. Oh man.
This is great. So Ryan Fredericks' unclear future and West Ham's incredible youngster. Yeah, right. Here's your morning digest, blah, blah, blah. Basically, Fredericks is shit, end of story. And he's going to be the next Julien Faubert. And even though I like Julien Faubert a lot better, I thought he did a lot more for our club than this championship second stringer. Especially with Ngakia and so on. Basically, it's saying that, with Ngakia and Ben Johnson, I'm basically just paraphrasing this whole thing for everybody. So since we have, Johnson and Ngakia, there's really, no lead. He's surplus to requirements, I guess you'd say. And definitely check out Football.London's article and see if it's exactly what I said or not. But I'm pretty sure it is. So any comments on Fredericks, anybody?
No, I think when he was first signed, and you read on the Fulham forums said he's very athletic, he's good going forward, but he tends to be totally out of position at times. It's what you read on the forums even before he came to West Ham, and I think there was the hope that with good coaching he could miscorrect or identify how he was getting out of position all the time. But he's still out of position all the time. He hasn't developed enough. I think he's been a failure in that respect positionally. And I think it's simple, but I think that's the story. I just think he hasn't been good enough. I think he's very athletic. I think he can deliver the odd cross when he's up to it. but he's just not good enough defensively, and I don't think he has a good enough football mind. And
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it's time for him to go.
So it's one of those things where, a lot of West Ham supporters, and especially the ones that are giving me a lot of shit right now in the chat, especially from, it looks like Periscope, which is from Twitter, when those, West Ham supporters on Twitter are the most vicious and absent-minded, I guess you'd say. They are super passionate. They are the Johnny-come-latelys. They are the, they're also loyal, I guess you'd say, too, for the most part. Like, basically, Antonio can do no wrong because we love him for what he's done. Winston Reed can do no wrong. I'd let him play again because, those type of people, because we love him. We'll forever love him. Fredericks is the same situation where, for whatever reason, I guess it's because he's Declan's boy, that everybody loves Ryan Fredericks for some reason. But other than that, like, I literally had 5 games this season. I don't even think he played 6, where I was counting on my hand, like, every time he'd give the ball away. I mean, he doesn't look when he passes the ball ever. And I want people, like, seriously, anybody who thinks I'm not right, go back and check. Please, dear God, go back and check, because you're going to see that he doesn't look and he gives the ball away. Even when he heads the ball, you know what I'm saying? Like, he just, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just bad luck. Like, the ball always ends up at the feet or the chest of the opponent all the time. Like, he just does, I'd say, I don't know. I can't say all of his passes because he made a couple good crosses and stuff like that, but we can't rely on that. And I mean, he's shown time and time again that he is not a regular starter in the Premier League.
I totally agree with you, Tim, but I would also urge you not to get too much into what other supporters think. There's some players who love Ryan Fredericks. There's some players who hate him.
Oh, yeah. No,
there's some supporters who hate Michael Antonio. There's some players who hate him. It's almost every player. So
no, I know.
I don't think you can take it personally. Like, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone gets their emotions involved.
Well, that's what this is all about. No, I know. I'm not worried about it. I'm just saying that that's my thing, is that, for the people who don't see it, like, just, they have you go watch it. Like, seriously, go back and watch. Because, who knows when we're going to see him again. But, yeah, that's the point. Watch.
One thing that's really interesting with him too, I'll admit I was pretty excited when we got him, just for the simple fact that he added pace to the squad, and it's something that we desperately need. And then too, like, he had 100 rated game last year, which was crazy. I mean, he played well, obviously, but 100 rated game, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, no, I think you look at him play, and then you look at Ngakia and Johnson, and they're just better, well-rounded.
That's the word. Yes,
they play.
Yes.
I don't think Fredericks is bad. He might be out of position, but at the same time, the youngsters are just that much better. I mean, you look at Johnson and Ngakia, the first games respectively against the 2 best teams in England, and they both played really well. And any game they played since then. So. But yeah, I mean, I think his spot would be up for grabs for sure, and I think we could sell him for a decent amount if we were to sell him.
Yeah. I think the thing is it's similar to what David said about, like, you would hope with more coaching, especially more defensive coaching for someone like David Moyes, who concentrates on defensive football, that his positioning would get better, and it just hasn't, unfortunately. One thing I would say, one argument for keeping him is we're obviously got very, very little budget this summer, as will everyone, but we'll be definitely one of the people who are worst hit by it. And with Zabaleta going, that leaves us with Fredericks and the 2 youngsters. I personally don't want to see 2 youngsters in the squad at the same time. As much as I love them both, and I think they are both capable of being first-team footballers at West Ham, I would prefer to see one go out on loan and then one fight for the position, so they can both get as much first-team football as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think fullback we're weak. So if your depth, Ben Johnson can switch sides, but if it's Ben Johnson, Aaron Cresswell, and Ngakia, that's not a lot of depth at fullback.
Which one would you put on loan first, Ngakia or Johnson?
That's really tough. Maybe Johnson, but then you need to sign someone else like Matty Cash from Nottingham Forest. Not that we have the funds for that. He's like, we were looking at him in the January transfer window, and I think we could have had a steal then. But now I think more teams than us are looking at him. So I think if you put someone on loan, it's going to be hard to find someone of equal value back. with this financial crisis. I don't know enough about how it's working financially, but I think it's going to be tough for every team, unless you're one of the big teams, to sell and acquire at the same time. But
Yeah, that's fair.
Charlie, any thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree. I think I don't like thinking of Ben Johnson as this guy who can play left back just because he did it once. It like fills me a little bit with dread, especially when like he is brought up and raised as a right back, and then he's right-footed. Like, there's just a lot of issues around that I'm not super keen on. But ultimately, like, I think one of them has to go out on loan, and it's whichever one can get the best loan offer for that player, right? So whichever one can get a championship club who he will play for consistently. That's what I want to see. So I don't mind which one it is ultimately. I prefer Ngakia out of the two of them, but if it's Ben Johnson as the one who stays, I'm not exactly complaining. You know what I mean? I'm not exactly complaining.
All right. Well, there's more recent reports of, I guess, Tottenham reaching out again for Diop. I really don't care. I don't know if you guys care. Do you guys care? Even if it was true, I mean, does it matter? I mean,
well, I don't care because I don't think we do business with Spurs. I don't think like they're such a rival that I don't think we would risk, selling a player for a high fee and then him doing good. I do care in the sense that I think if we got rid of Diop and then we only had Ogbonna and Balbuena, we'd be pretty weak at center back unless we signed someone else. And even though he has his weaknesses and his strengths, I'm higher than him on some people. He's only 23, I believe, so he has room to grow. But he's big, he's athletic, he makes strong tackles, even though he's out of position sometimes. But sometimes him being out of position is caused by the midfield being out of position or the fullbacks being out of position. And I believe he had 5-headed goals either last year or over 2 years. So, yeah, he's cheap. So I wouldn't mind keeping him. I'm not. I think part of the hate against Issa Diop is he's making mistakes because he's immature, because he's young. Yeah. But I think 5 years from now, Issa Diop is going to be vastly different from the here and now Issa Diop.
Yeah, I definitely think he can grow into being a pretty superb player. Especially, I mean, the first year that he was here, he played really or extremely well. One thing too, I was going to mention or ask, and before I forget, is with Charlie, like what you were saying with the finances being kind of weird going to the transfer window, is there any possibility of you think the team might go to a back line of 3 players? That way you have a couple more reserves and kind of helps with injury, or do you still think we stay with 4?
Do you know what? It's not something I've considered. That's actually not a bad shout. I think we do stick with 4 just because Moyes has found something that's worked, and I think he's probably a bit too what's the word I'm looking for? Shook, let's go with, to change that. Like, he's fighting for his reputation as much as he is anything else, and he's managed to stumble. He's accidentally, for the second time at West Ham, managed to stumble into something that's worked. First time on Alvich, and now this. I think he'll stick with it. But it's not actually the worst shot in the world, and we do have, by and large, 3 first-choice centre-backs. It's just past that, it's a bit of a problem. We don't have someone past that. Cardozo is probably the one past that, and I don't know if he's ever going to make it at first team football in the Premier League. So we'll see with that. But yeah, it's not something I haven't considered before. I need to deep sit a little bit. I need to think about it in the recesses of my mind. But yeah, Diop. This is the thing with Diop to Spurs is if they pay 60 million, sure. But the thing is anything less than that would maybe get shortchanged slightly, just because his value was there. His value is not. It's like, selling him in this window is a risk because next window he could be worth so much more, both because the market could go back up again and his value could also go back up again through decent performances, right? So do you want to sell him and potentially get less for him than we could, right? The one thing I always just find frustrating about West Ham is we seem to sell players when they're not at their peak value-wise. Like Cresswell was 25 mil at one point. Now we'd get like 5 for him, right? Antonio with 25 mil, arguably would still get 15, 20 for him, but at the same time, like, we always miss the peak.
And Lanzini too. Way higher. That's completely different.
Way higher.
And this isn't Diop's peak right now. So do we want to just let him go like that? If it's 60 million, sure, have him. because we're not going to get. I don't think we'll ever get the best out of him. Not because he's not a great player, because I actually really, really like Diop, but just because I don't think we have the coaching and the setup to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
So that's my big opinion on Diop, really.
All right. Well, I mean, I just don't care if we sell him or if we keep him. I really don't, because he doesn't make that much of an impact on a regular basis to care.
Sure.
I guess you'd say. I mean, all we keep talking about is future. So let's just put it on, on the ice and wait 3 or 4 years and then, play him again or something. I don't know, because he doesn't really do much when he's out there. I mean, on a regular basis. I mean, he does, show glimpses of potential and potential and potential and potential. But again, like everybody said, he makes immature mistakes, which he shouldn't be doing. We can't afford him to be doing, especially a club like us. I mean, Man U can handle, or Tottenham can handle an immature mistake or two. We can't, because we just don't seem to recoup from that on a regular basis, especially with the shit, goalkeepers that we've had, besides obviously Fabianski. I mean, don't mean him, people, calm down. I mean, when we had the whole Roberto situation, if Diop made a mistake, fuck, we're dead. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. So I don't really care. I mean, if we're going to cash in on him now, or like you guys said, if he stays around for another year and then we sell him, I don't care. I mean, because if we keep him, hey, we got him, okay, fine. But then if we sell him, then we can use that money to buy somebody better for sure, or a couple people, who are more experienced, because we've learned that we can't have too many youth players in the team, right? I mean, there's such a thing, guys.
Do we have too many youth players in the team?
We could easily have. Well, not currently. No, in the current starting 11 or in the squad, I don't think so. But
you don't think two's too many?
No, I don't think two's too many. But I mean, at the same time, I think it depends on the player as well. Because I mean, for example, you look at, Chelsea has a lot of youth, and they're top 6. Man United has a few. I don't know. I don't think you consider like Lingard and Rashford youth anymore, but
yeah.
But yeah, I guess they're who's that? Fernandez or
Bruno Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon. That seems to
McTominay too, don't they?
Whole setup.
Yeah, McTominay. Yeah, but I guess more specifically players that came through their system. I don't think either one of them. Okay. Well, whoever DJ, I don't know why that name was probably in my head, but he's real quick. He's kind of fun to watch. But I don't know. I mean, you could have a couple, but I mean, I'm definitely not saying go crazy. And one thing too, I've been thinking with the Diop talk is if he does leave for whatever reason, if the board doesn't bring in a 1-for-1 replacement, do you think there's a chance that you could put Rice back at center back to fill that spot, or do you think
I think there's a good chance of that happening, but I think that would be a disaster. I think he's been playing at holding midfielder or defensive midfielder or whatever you want to say, and been gaining skills, and he's young, and then you switch him back to a more grueling position, and he doesn't feel there's any continuity. That could be like a hallmark excuse for him to be like, I want to go to Chelsea to be with
I personally wouldn't want to do that either.
He can definitely do it, though. I mean,
we could definitely do it.
I think it's bad for his development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that he's getting that, he's getting that training, and he's learning that position very well.
Yeah. It's kind of his spot to lose, to be honest.
I can change it
on
him.
Probably be better than dropping a
I mean, Bilic would have done it.
Yeah,
Bilic probably had him playing fucking right wing too.
I thought, hang on, Tim. Hang on. I swear the other day you were saying like we should have the foresight to move like Bowen into like forward positions and stuff. How are you gonna at one point diss Slaven Bilic for putting players in various positions and then say, we should put
there's different various and they're ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Bilic would play Antonio at a right back.
Antonio right back, dude. Really?
It's the only time Antonio's ever been good. Sue me. Was when he was at right back.
That's not true.
Me, bro. Let's see what happens.
Joey O'Brien at right mid. You know what I mean? Like, what's up?
Joey O'Brien in a football team is a problem to begin with. Let's be real about it.
Matty Taylor.
Oh man,
that's true. All right. Well, fuck it. So I don't want to talk about Diop anymore. How about that? All right. Let's talk about some more good news. All right. So, so I guess Karen Brady's not happy right now.
Oh no, not Karen Brady.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm not happy with Aaron Brady.
well, that we were getting to that. I was trying to
Forever.
ease into it, but yeah. So she claims that we still would need, if we're going to do the behind closed doors matches, which I don't think anybody really wants, but people do want our season to end instead of just saying avoid it. So for the most part, not everybody, but my point is she's saying that fanless games will still need 300 to 500 people to run the games. That's for both sides. But now, is that number like realistic, or even close to realistic? Let's start with Charlie, and then zigzag.
I mean, I guess the thing is, right, I was all about behind closed doors games a couple of weeks ago, and it was until Fashizi in the chat of one of these videos spoke about like having to have medical staff there, and it being kind of irresponsible to have like medical staff, ambulances and stuff like that at football games when such things are happening in the world. We're looking at a situation now where Germany are getting close to coming back, right? Like Germany have sort of saying they're looking at first week of May, second week of May to come back and start playing behind closed doors games. The problem is Germany have dealt with this whole pandemic in a very, 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 very different way to how England has dealt with it and the UK has dealt with it. And furthermore, like the rest of the world, they were much ahead of it. They have their shit together. Lo and behold, they can get this stuff going forward, right? Whereas we haven't. And I think any time before the middle of the summer, you cannot have a situation, in my opinion, where you have medical staff taken away from the situation at large to deal with bloody, I don't know, flipping Yarmolenko getting 2-footed and then having to wobble off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. There's going to be a hell of a lot of people inside those stadiums, wherever they are, wherever it ends up being played. There'll be a hell of a lot because it's not just the coaching staff. It's not just the team. It's not just the fitness people. It's not just the Premier League people who have to be there like sidelines. You have these cameras. There's so much that goes into a match day football thing, especially if their plan is to just air all of them, which I think is kind of low-key the plan. I can't get behind it. I don't mind the aspect of being behind closed doors as such, as important as fans are, just because in reality there are bigger things at play. But it's like the medical staff and putting that many people in a close concentration that I just can't be backing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a great point.
Sally, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know, 300 to 500. I'm sure, if you boil it down, you probably have, the staffs for both teams, all the players, the ball boys, the refs, production people, and all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure the number could get pretty high. But, if with the whole, like, social distancing and just stuff like that, like those people are still going to be in close quarters to each other. And I guess just as Charlie was saying, like, are you going to be 100% sure that everybody, is not sick or something? Yeah, I would agree. 300 does sound pretty reasonable, but I feel like I don't know. I understand there wanting to be a need to finish the season. I mean, even in the States, for the NBA and NHL, you were about 2 weeks away from playoffs starting, when all this stopped, and obviously you want to finish that stuff too. Yeah. But at the same time, I think you have to look at the bigger picture, which could be better. Is if you got to bite the bullet, it is what it is. I mean, I understand, being a Liverpool fan or whatever, but at the same time, this kind of affects everybody differently because I saw the Mexican League, actually. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but they're taking away promotion relegation for the next 5 years.
The Liga Ascenso, their B series, their championship, their Serie B, yeah.
Yeah. For the next 5 seasons, no promotion or demotion, which is an interesting number to put that at. But at the same time, I mean, I don't think that's going to be a universal thing. But I mean, this is unprecedented. There's no like plans for what if the season happens to end soon? Is there like a certain point where we're like, okay, well, we're not playing or what? But I mean, just bite the bullet, just get everybody ready for next season. Or I don't know.
I would hope that all this time, I would hope that they were planning something.
I'm sure there will be plans for the future.
I mean, there's a lot of money at stake too.
Oh yeah, especially
and lawsuits and everything else. So and relegations and promotions, and do we keep two teams up for, bring them up and don't relegate anybody this season and then do stagger the relegations? How the fucking stupid is that?
Well,
I mean,
and I heard too the money alone for broadcasting, if they don't finish the season by a certain date, the Premier League will owe like right around $1 billion.
I heard there was going to be some forgiveness on the
I'm
money.
sure, yeah.
I don't know how true that is either. But here's a quick question for everybody. We'll start with David and then go clockwise. Would you prefer a stadium to be silent or a canned noise crowd? So, like, for the behind closed doors matches.
As in, like, playing crowd through the speakers?
I think it sounds counterintuitive, but I think I would actually prefer the canned
Indianapolis Colts.
Just to for the entertainment's sake. You know what I mean? It might completely fail, but when the Serie A they just had one round of games behind closed doors, it was really eerie. And I think with the canned noise, at least there's something you could be like, oh, I'm actively following this. It's funny. Blah,
so they need a DJ.
And then if it failed, it failed. You know what I mean? But it would at least give you something to like tune into and make it less awesome.
Button. And the button. Yeah. I mean, fucking A. I don't know. Charlie?
But both options suck. So I mean,
you're right. There's no win. Charlie?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. The one thing I say, like, because obviously I've gone to like one of the things I've noticed where I go to random grounds is like when they play like goal music, for example, which is just, I'm so against it. I could not be more against it, but I tried. I remember once I went to where was it? It was Crystal Palace ladies versus West Ham ladies. This was a couple of years ago when this was before the club got taken over, when the ladies club got taken over and turned into the women's team. And it was away at Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, and they scored, and they started playing Chelsea Dagger by the Fratellis. And the crowd went mild. There was not that many people there to begin with, and just playing the music and having any sort of sound was it was bad. It was a bad sound. It was a bad time. So no, in no way, shape, or form should that be a thing that should happen. Just let it be. Like when you watch under 23s football, for example, and there's no one there, it's a bit awkward, but you just deal with it and you move on with your life. It's better than the option of having Big Bang Theory canned laughter, you know?
Yeah, definitely. No, and yeah, I agree with Charlie. I wouldn't don't play any noise. I mean, that's just going to be weird, especially just watching it on TV. Like you hear it, but it's not there, you know. And especially for the players too, you know, you could even manipulate it to where, you know, if the opposition has the ball, turn the music up or the noise or whatever, you know. But I wouldn't want to do it. But I'm also against playing behind closed doors too. So
yeah.
Oh boy. We got control.
Listen. Sometimes the man don't think they're hot shit, but they ain't. That's what I'm gonna say on the matter.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, it looks like those Gooners are gonna get that Iranian Messi ahead of us, which doesn't surprise me. I don't think we're ever gonna get him anyway.
I don't think anyone will get him. It's one of those things that comes around. It's like when the Olympics rolled around and Omar Abdul Rahman was everywhere because the man could dribble for days and then no one signed him. It's a similar situation. I don't think anyone will. Not us, not Arsenal, no one. It would just, maybe he'll rock up at like Monaco or some random crap like that, but he won't do anything.
David?
Yeah, I agree. It's all rumors right now, unless it's something that makes sense. Don't buy too much into it.
Yeah, I mean, as long if they do play behind closed doors, as long as there's a broadcast, that'll be fine because that's what you're going to hear anyways. You know, you're not, especially the person at home watching, you're not going to really hear the crowd noise if there's a broadcast going on. It might be quiet, but you're going to be paying attention to what they're saying, or most of it's paying attention to the game anyway. So fake crowd noise doesn't really do anything for anybody.
This is crazy. So, you know, it's funny that I actually went to go see what kind of options we got going on here in the admin, you know, aspect of things, and I have the option to not just block somebody, but I actually have the option to put somebody in a timeout.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, never mind. So anyway, I can't even see you guys right now. Just so you know, like you guys have all been black screens for me. I know everybody else can see you just fine, but it's kind of weird.
Dude, when I was wearing the double sunglasses, couldn't see a thing.
Oh no! Yeah, there you are. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. So, anybody have anything in the chat room that you want us to discuss? Please go ahead and ask away some questions. I guess because that's all I prepared for tonight. I didn't really.
I'll say something. This is not related to West Ham, but it with quarantine and all that, I was going to mention if anybody has seen the Netflix show called The English Game. It came out like 2 weeks ago, and it's about the first professional football player, or the first like football player to get paid. Ended up playing for Blackburn, and it was way back in like the early 1900s. You know, when football was just played by gentlemen. You know, and being paid was highly frowned upon. And just it's pretty good. It's only 6 episodes. Each episode is about 50 minutes to an hour long. I recommend it. It's a good watch and a good little bit of history too. I don't know if it's going to be more than one season of it, but it's pretty good. I enjoyed it, and it was nice to watch a little bit of soccer for a change too.
Yeah,
or football. I apologize.
Yeah, my father actually told me about it. I didn't even know it was on Netflix. Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet. David, have you seen anything about this?
No, I haven't. I've only been watching some of the Sunderland series, which makes me sad. But
yeah, I mean,
I'll make sure to watch it. But I guess that brings a transition to Newcastle. That with if the Saudi ownership buys Newcastle, I just read a statistic that the combined money of their ownership will outnumber the total money of all the other ownership in the Premier League. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. Not that I begrudge Newcastle any. They've been loyal supporters. They've had a terrible owner in Mike Ashley, but that's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
So I'm curious about
that. Yeah, it's a weird situation. The thing is with that whole thing is if I was them, I almost wouldn't want it to happen. Like obviously anything to get rid of Mike Ashley, but just not those people specifically. There are very few people in the world who I would say would be a worse owner of Newcastle Football Club than Mike Ashley. And listen, they'll plow a lot of money in and they'll do a lot of things. You all know what I'm into in wrestling. They'll put a crap ton of money in this to make it look like they're good people, but they ain't. And it's a bit of a out of one hole into another.
So you don't think it's like, a Manchester City situation where one second they're up and down, they're a yo-yo club, and next thing you know, they're winning championships.
Nah, zero chance. I mean, you can't do that anymore. You just can't. Like, financial fair play is in place to stop that sort of thing happening. They have all of the tools to become a very, very big team. And like I say, they will plow in the money to make that happen, but it can't be instantaneous anymore. It's going to have to be a long-term thing. They've got a huge stadium. They've got a huge fan base. You put the right training stuff in place. You could get really good youth players. I mean, they've already got 1 or 2 in the team, but you could get. There's a huge catchment area in the northeast. There's a big chance for them to become a large team, but it can't happen overnight like it has for Chelsea, who went to dominating the league straight away. Chelsea were a lot better than Man City, to be fair, but going straight to dominating the league can't be like Man City doing that. It has to take a while. It has to take a while, unfortunately. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that I think it'll be interesting, just like you said. But here, I don't know why they had so much financial issues. I don't know why they had so many financial issues ahead of time. I mean, like their attendance is fucking spot on. You know, massive stadium. They sell tickets every single.
One of the nicest stadiums in the league, too. Honestly,
they sell that place. You know, I'm telling you, they got to be making money. Ashley had to be making money.
Mike Ashley did free season ticket prices for a long time, which has sort of scuppered that income to an extent. But you're right, like that stadium is huge. Like it's like when you're in the away section, you could not be higher up apart from like at the new camp or some nonsense. Like it is a massive ground.
Yeah. Speaking of, the new camp is getting renovated. Like the whole area where Barcelona Football Club play. is getting a crazy renovation. The stadium's going to kind of look similar to what the Alliance Stadium is for what are they called? Yeah, it's Bayern. Thank you. And the whole area, there's going to be like shops popping up. They're redoing the ground for where their training facility for the youth or for the academy more so is going to be. But it's about a 5-year project, and it looks like it's going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, from just very brief article reading, from what I understand, is Mike Ashley, because he owns Sports Direct, just wanted to like have a basic model of earning a basic profit off of Newcastle, which he could filter into keeping Sports Direct running. And then with the coronavirus, he was like, shit, that overhead isn't there anymore. So he's like, I've got to sell. But his major interest wasn't in having Newcastle United be successful. It was him realizing they had a lot of gate with the fans and saying, we can have this overall profit no matter what we spend, and I can funnel some of that profit to keep Sports Direct.
It is interesting too with Newcastle, because you kind of feel like they would be in a somewhat of a similar situation as West Ham in terms of like they have everything that would attract a buyer to want to build a team and make it successful. You know, like we were just saying, great ground, great fan base, fans that travel, and you know the only thing that doesn't come up that doesn't live up to par is the team, you know, which is crazy how Newcastle hasn't been relegated in the past few years because they love flirting with the bottom three, but they just stay up barely, you know. But no, they're
I think there's an actual analogy to be made there that I think possibly our owners, I actually was very wrong. I thought they were earning a lot of money on the club, but they're not. They're losing a slight amount of money each year, but I think they're really hoping for a big sell to where they can get money. And if the situation is right, they'll do just like Mike Ashley did. They'll sell money, and they know they can get a basic overhead. But the big attraction for them is to sell and make a profit off the sell.
Yeah. Wow. Foshi says Ashley lost roughly $800 million in a drop.
There you go.
Shares value. Yeah, he desperately needs the cash. Fucking Duncan. Duncan's funny. Yeah, I'm not. Listen, there's people asking about a Diop replacement, and I thought I already said that. You know, we've already talked about Diop today. I don't really want to talk about Diop anymore. So,
yeah, I don't know enough about the center back replacements.
Exactly. Listen, we've been linked with Lovren. You know what I mean? That's horse shit. And listen, they don't have so you know.
We need to stop signing older players. That has wreaked havoc for us for way too many years. I mean, I could go on. Joe Hart, Jack Wilshere, Pablo Zabaleta. Yeah. I mean, some have had a good heart, some have not.
I think a lot of that too could be. I apologize for cutting you off, David.
No worries. You're building on what I said.
A lot of that too, I feel like, is just the owners trying to put a Band-Aid over bad situations. Like, oh, hey, look at this great player who's had a lot of success in the past come in and distract you from what we're not doing over here, you know, because, I mean, it's cool, you know, the names are nice, like, oh, they're playing for West Ham, but, I mean, it's almost the equivalent of, like, a big name going, like David Villa playing in the MLS. Like, it's great that he's here, but his best days are behind him. You know, like you're not going to get the same production out of him. Might put a good shift in at a time or two just because he has had that work mentality. Like when Joe Hart first came to the club, I was reading articles about how vocally he definitely directed the back line a lot more than what Adrian did, because that's just how he was. You know, England first keeper, just stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's bringing players that are actually talented or have a lot of like upside.
Yeah. So I saw Thomas said in the chat, he said, what do we think about Newcastle? Will that make it harder for West Ham to make the top 10?
We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna go into I just want to mention real quick, TJ Cooney, we're gonna get to your question. I know it's further back, but apparently Kiwi Hammers and Irish Tommy asked the same question, so we're going to answer this one now, right, David? Start with it.
Unfortunately, I think the trend in the Premier League and maybe some other select teams in the other European leagues is that big money is just rearing its head. It's also like what Saudi Arabia is trying to promote their country in a positive light. So is Qatar. So is UAE with PSG, with Newcastle, with Paris Saint-Germain. There's a lot of money involved at Chelsea. I think, unfortunately, we may be veering towards a UEFA Super League, which is going to really – I'm of two minds about it. It's going to really suck. It's going to be a Super League, assuming the owners don't sell PSG, but it's going to be like PSG, Inter Milan, Manchester City, Newcastle, Liverpool, yada, yada, yada. And every like random 8-year-old kid is really going to be into it. Every random casual football, soccer fan is going to be very into it. The flip side is going to be that being a West Ham fan will be more satisfying because then you won't even need to deal with those teams. It will just be more about like football culture. But unfortunately, I think we may be going towards that route unless something changes economically with the people who own the football clubs.
Charlie.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't like the idea of the Super League because I feel like the second those teams leave, it devalues like the Premier League. And so like, although we'll have a much better chance of getting to where we would all like to be as a club, I don't think it means as much if you've done it because 4 of them have left, sort of thing. So I don't really like the idea of it in any situation. And also for all the reasons you just said, like all the reasons you just listed off, like taking away casual fans, taking away all this other stuff, like it's just a bad scene overall. I think Newcastle specifically, yeah, it does make it more difficult because although them winning a league and them winning titles and them winning cups, all of that stuff, is as long as that's not instantly attainable, what is a top 10 finish guaranteed every year. What is like you look how much money Everton put in when they got their new owner from Arsenal. Same situation. You get a lot of people, they go around, they can buy the top talent from outside the top 6. That includes players like we have a couple of them at least, not many right now, but ideally more. But they can go and buy those players. They can solidify themselves as a top 8 challenger because that is what is instantly attainable, and that would be the goal. You look at instant goals, top 8 in the competition with Wolves, with Everton, with Leicester, basically. And that would make it just more difficult for us because that's more plays. And unfortunately, the longer we take to get our proverbial shit together, the longer it'll take to get there. And I don't think we will under these owners, but there we go.
Silly.
I've always been in the mindset of, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And it would suck if like a Champions League became a permanent thing. Like, their own league, the Super League, as you were saying. And not only just for the fact that I think it would devalue other leagues, I think you have to look at it from a financial fan aspect as well, because, like let's say you are a Liverpool fan and 1 week you have to go to Spain and the week after that you have to go to Germany and the week after that you have to go to France or, whatever. Your away games are always something different. You might have 2 or 3 away games in the country, but not every fan is going to be able to, make all those destinations. And I know in each country, respectively, you'll probably have a couple of fans that just live there who will be able to go, but I think that would be a huge detraction. But at the same time, I mean, we've as in West Ham, we've had success. Well, we've shown that we can fight for the top 10 spots.
Yeah, choose your words.
Yeah, we've shown that we can be up there. Granted, we haven't been able to stay up there, but
yeah,
earlier this season, we had only dropped points in one game, and that was the one to Manchester City. So I don't. It would suck, honestly, and that it would be. I don't know. It definitely wouldn't mean as much if we were to get a Champions League spot with no like United, City, Liverpool, and I don't know, Chelsea or whoever. That wouldn't be great.
It'd still be just nice to have that happen at least once.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice, sure, but I mean, I don't know.
No, I understand. It wouldn't sustain. I mean, we wouldn't be able to sustain. That's the problem.
Right. And you still wouldn't be able to get the best players going to the Premier League because that's not where the money would be. The money would be in that Super League too. So you still couldn't buy anybody.
Yeah, no, everyone would have to adjust and become like an Ajax that you'd have to develop the player.
Yeah,
And you would have
that
to be
or like
players.
Bruce. Yeah,
Yeah, Neil says that success for West Ham would be to finish in top 10 on a regular basis, and that's that sounds about right. Oh shit, I gotta take it off. All right, so we're gonna end this with because it's gonna take about 10 minutes anyway to get through all of us. Starting 11 with the squad that we have right now. What's your best 11? And we'll start with Selly and go counterclockwise.
Oh man. I do like some of the 11s that we had for the past couple of games. So obviously Fabianski in goal, Ngakia, Diop, Ogbonna, and then whoever else you want to play. I guess Cresswell, Rice, Souček, Bowen, Fornals, and then Antonio and Hilaire. I think that's your squad right there.
Charlie. Also, everybody, if everybody's healthy, everybody's fit.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Fabianski, Ngakia, Diop, Ogbonna, Cresswell, Rice, Souček, Fornals, Bowen, Haller, Anderson for me.
Wow.
Like the thing is, right? Like I look at like Antonio, who's the obvious exception to that rule, right? He's the obvious person you would put in there ahead of, say, maybe you swap him in with Haller, you move some stuff around. There's like a couple of things you would look into that, right? The thing is with Antonio is he's really good at getting past people and nothing else. And even then he does it arms flailing in the air like he's doing the bloody Macarena, right? He's a struggle to watch, and he's not like as good as he is at getting past people, he's good at nothing else. Can't shoot, can't cross, can't pass. Like the guy like acts like he's hot shit, but in reality he's just a disappointing caramel. You know, it's just a thing. It's one of those things where it just is what it is. So I would say, in my opinion, that would be the starting 11.
Yeah, Anderson in 11 would be pretty nice too.
David, what's your personal opinion here?
I'd go Fabianski, Diop, Ogbonna, Cresswell, then Ngakia. But if we could sign Matty Cash, I'd go Matty Cash.
There you go.
I get a card. Whatever. And Rice, Souček. I actually thought we had to re-sign it. Well, we had the choice of re-signing him. But what, from my understanding of his contract, is if we stay up, we're forced to re-sign him. So I actually think that's good. So we have him back. Then I'd go Fornals, Bowen, Haller, Anderson on the left. I agree, though, that Antonio and Bowen both play right wing, so it's tough. How do you include them both? But, Antonio gets injured a lot, so just, go Bowen sometimes, and then Antonio gets injured, and then Bowen plays. And then Haller. I would sometimes like us to see just to play two strikers if we signed Ollie Watkins, and to go Haller and Watkins, and then go Bowen and Anderson, or just Bowen or just Antonio, and then have two strikers and let one of them kind of veer to the other side, or have Anderson fill in for Bowen or Antonio and veer to the other side. But that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah. That's a good shout there too. So Cash, Manning, Watkins, and Easy E, bro. We keep so current squad. I guess that doesn't include our guys out on loan, right?
Listen, if it did, I would have strong opinions.
Players and ask for Hugo back. You never know. I'm not even. I'm saying like that sounds ridiculous, but there could be a big enough of a financial crisis where that could happen.
It would
be bad for West Ham, but that could happen.
I think Tommy's still in the chat room, so you guys want to?
Could be good for West Ham.
Charlie, do you want to have a little talk to Tommy about his appearance on?
I just think, listen, Tommy, right? I've said this to Katie, and I'll say it to you now. Okay, watch out. I've seen you. See the things you said, and I'll forgive him for now because you're a nice guy and I like you a lot. However, Tommy, I'm watching. That's all I've got to say. Also,
I will say that. What? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, also unlucky on not getting to the final. I look forward to losing to Katie in the final if I get there.
So this is a good point right here. So Tim said if everyone's fit, I guess it doesn't stretch to Jack Wilshere. Well,
No,
here's the
definitely
thing.
not.
So it's one of those deals where, okay, he's fit, but then he won't be fit the next day, or he won't even be fit the whole day. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I want to risk him. I don't want him to get hurt anymore, poor guy. You know what I mean? I feel bad for him. I wouldn't want to put him out there and let him get hurt again. So I that's the only reason why I didn't have him in mind. But pretty much I agree with, Charlie and David. You guys pretty much had identical, right? Sully, who did you have that was different?
Antonio's.
Yeah, see, no thank you. And
especially against weaker teams, he stretches the field sometimes.
Yeah,
So.
you just got to put somebody up there with Hilaire. I
He's
mean,
a
it
utility
doesn't matter
player,
who it is.
Yeah, he's a utility player. He's like situational, you know, and
Yeah.
Good word, situational.
yeah, like I wouldn't. He wouldn't be in my best 11. You know what I mean? I think that I have Bowen on, I guess, the right, and Fornell's in the center, and then Anderson on the left. That there. But anyway,
the thing is, the idea of a strongest 11 is one of those things where we can talk about it in principle, but obviously these things never happen. And then obviously you also have to account for the opposition somewhat. So there will be games where Antonio is just the right decision to go ahead as a coach.
How many times this last season and the season before that we did our predictions for lineups and stuff like that on any? It doesn't matter what show it was, even even on Hammer's Chat or whatever. So we picked the lineup. Here's what my prediction would be. Blah blah blah. And it never happened. Right. You're right. I mean, it never happened, I don't think.
I totally agree. And one time my ideal lineup was predicted. We lost 3-0 at Brighton. I was like, yes, this is the lineup, baby.
Oh, man.
And the thing is, like there are a couple of people in the chat, right, who are patrons to Hammer's Chat. So they might have seen this, but I do a podcast on there called Two Spanners, One Hammer. And on that, one of the questions that we spoke about was who is the one player next season you think we need the most? And I did say Antonio, because he's just too important to the team in every facet. And like having a player on the bench or in the squad who maybe isn't your strongest 11, but he's so horrendously effective as Michail Antonio is absolutely vital.
He
could be a super sub.
Single-handedly won that Chelsea game. That game at Chelsea for us last year. It was single-handedly him. Everyone was in position and tried really hard, but it was just him stretching the field and linking up that won us that match.
Kieran in the chat's got some brilliant ideas. He's saying either bring back Roberto, sign Karius.
No, God, no.
Spot on.
Oh man, there's a little bit of debate in the room, chat room as well about Diangana, and I mean, everybody I hope knows my opinion. My opinion is that I was not impressed whatsoever his first season with us on the first team, and he was like a dud to me. It was very flat. You could see that he just wasn't ready. I mean, he looked like he wanted to try, but he just didn't. I don't know. His head and his feet didn't match. I don't know. He was super quick, but in the wrong ways. And anyway, didn't really excite me at all. And then he went on loan to West Brom, where he hasn't stayed 100% healthy, but he's done very well, flashy in the championship with his boy, Cullen's down there and Hugel's down there doing their thing. But again, I don't know. I just don't think he's ever going to excite me on a regular basis. You know what I mean? I don't think he's that guy. I think Nathan Holland has a better chance. I think freaking Josh Cullen has a better chance of being a reliable figure in our on our bench even than
it'd be fun to see what Holland can do in the squad for sure. Especially, the moment he got loaned out, all he did was score.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if he could translate that to the Prem.
Here's a interesting one. So I think it's Grant Haji in the chat room. Anyway, the point is, would you take $20 million for Diangana?
I definitely would. To what I saw when he was with us in the Premier League, he had pace. He had good football sense. He just lacks the physicality. I think he can push off the ball very easily. I don't know if he can bulk up and be more physical, but it doesn't seem like it. He seems like a pretty lightweight, short player. I don't know if my eyes are deceiving me. He seems like he's at his highest value. I would sell him unless we're physically constrained to where we have to sell a player like Anderson, even though he plays on the other wing, and then we need to put him in because we're in financial straits. I would definitely sell him now for $20 million.
Yeah, me too. Charlie?
No, I wouldn't. Not because I think he's worth 20 million at this point, because I don't think he is. But Tim's gonna hate this. His potential is more than his potential is more than 20 million. At this point, the difference between let's say we don't sell it for 20 million, right? Look at the way, bro, he's English, and look at the way these things.
Listen, I only said 20 million because someone in the chat room said 20 million. I'd take 15 million for him.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong, but this is what I'm saying, right? In reality, we don't be selling for 20 million this year. It doesn't work out. He can go for 10 the next because he's proven at the championship level, right? When someone's proven at the championship level, a championship club will always take them. Look at people like Robert Earnshaw. Look at people like what's the guy's name? I can see him in my head. He played for Blackburn and he moved to Aston Villa, Scottish striker up front. Don't remember his name. Jordan something maybe. Anyway, it doesn't make any point. Jordan Rhodes, maybe, yeah, he was one.
Jordan Rhodes.
Guy played for. There was another one who played for Fulham as well, who went for 12 million twice in a row.
There's Ross McCormick too, but that's
Ross McCormack.
Yeah.
These are the people, right? When you're proven at championship level, championship clubs will always take you. Because the thing is, if you're proven at that level, you get brought in, you have the chance for Premier League football. People, they love it, right? Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense for them. If we don't sell for 20 million, let's say we got a bid for 20 million and we said no, and it didn't work out. Next season, 10 mil. Fam, Kieran, I will fight you. Anyway, he can go for 10 next summer, or in January he can go out on loan again, or whatever. Like, as much as 20 million is more than what he's worth, and I do think he is definitely worth less than 20 million, especially at this point. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it's not worth it for us. I would prefer to see him. Actually, to be fair, I would prefer to see Diangana coming to the squad and us to cut rid of some of the actual players we need to get rid of. For example, Yarmolenko, and him taking those sort of spots.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, as much as your, I disagree with your opinion on how he played before, but let's just say that you were correct for like this hypothetical situation, right? Diangana would still come on and try his best. He'll still come on and take the ball past people. He'll still probably be more fit than Yarmolenko, who hasn't been fit.
He would definitely do better this next season with us than he did his first time around, 100%. Yeah. But that doesn't say much because the first time around he didn't really do much of anything.
You also have to give people like that the opportunity, right? When a youth player goes out alone and nails it, they have to be given an opportunity. Otherwise, what are they going to be doing? This is something Gio said in the video the other day, right, about Josh Cullen. He's gone out and he's won Player of the Year awards at clubs he's been on loan at, and he comes in for preseason and goes again. What are youth players underneath him going to be looking at? They're going to be looking at these people who have done well out on loan and then still don't get utilized by the club. You have to give people some sort of aspirational techers, right? So in Diangana's case, he went out, he killed it. He deserves to come back and have at least a shot, at least another shot. So I wouldn't sell him for 20 million this window because of that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, so if Diangana's performances this season aren't enough to earn getting a shot at West Ham, then what is, Tim? I didn't say that. I just said that I would take 20 mil. I'd take 15 mil for him. I would be happy with him and Cullen and Hugel and everybody else that we have out on loan to come back and at least get a shot. Okay. I mean, 100%. Listen, there's not a single player in our youth academy that's out on loan or in our squad that's out on loan that would not love to come back and get a shot. And I hope they get a fair crack too. We've seen many times these guys, they'll take the pictures during training, you'll see the photos of them just dancing around with everybody, having a good time. Then all of a sudden they're picked off one by one. They just sent out. They didn't really get a shot. They didn't play any minutes in any preseason games. You don't really see that anymore. It's getting less and less and less, it seems. These players end up going out alone. So I don't know. I hope that they get a fair shot, 100%. But I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see the need for a Diangana right now, especially with everybody that we got. Especially his position. I don't see the need. I don't see him really taking over anybody's positions unless Antonio ends up going out with a long-term injury or something like that, because he's the most likely candidate to do so.
Him and Yarmolenko are both.
Yarmolenko will be gone. I mean,
within 3 weeks of behind closed doors games, they're both done for. Let's be real about it.
Yeah, and I hope Yarmolenko. Listen,
I think the issue is that other clubs can see what we see. That Yarmolenko is 31. He's past his prime. He's above average. He used to be semi-world class. He's not enough. He's actually our highest wage player. He's on $115,000 a week. So why would another team want to take that on? We're stuck with him. We can't get rid of him. He is our highest paid player of weekly wages.
I think one thing that would be interesting with a couple of players that aren't currently on the team right now on loan is, so with Dean gone to start, I think a lot of people, there has to be that transitional period, right? No matter what league you're coming into, even if you're coming from the championship, to get used to Premier League, you know. So granted, I mean, I know Diangana wasn't the greatest, but I don't think he was as bad as you kind of make it out to seem him.
Uber critical, my brother. You know,
No, we know.
Ever.
Oh yeah, no, it's the first time watcher. I have no idea.
I mean, I'm super critical of the players. You know,
but I will say too with Charlie, I do think that there is a lot of potential. I mean, if you could get 20 million for him right now, sure, especially because at the current moment we are kind of heavy in that position. But at the same time, I do think that there is a lot of potential that he has, you know. So that would be it'd be interesting to see, and even right away, he doesn't have to crack the starting 11. He could come in, play about 20-30 minutes a game, somewhere in that range, and depending on who the opponent is, he could start. You know, maybe you give, you know, Fornals or whoever some time off and just let him play, you know, especially for cup ties, easy. And then
that's your replacement for Diop. Everybody was asking earlier in the chat room, who's our replacement for Diop? There you go, boom, done. Tompkins.
And then in regards to recall Big George, I think honestly, if that were to happen, I think that is a player that fans will rally around in a heartbeat. From the second we signed him, it was kind of a joke to be like, oh yeah, Jordan Hugo, you know, because nobody knew who he was. But then you see his interviews and like he's like already bleeding for the badge and all that, and he never really got a fair shot. But I think if he was to come in and be that guy, that he could be a legend instantly, you know, especially if he were to help us attain top 10, top 7 positions, you know, stuff like that. Because I don't think it's crazy hard to be a super good striker for West Ham. I mean, what do you got to do? Score more than 10 goals a season?
Not even that. 5 and you're being average.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Was our leading scorer as much as people criticize. No, he had 7, I believe.
7 or 8. Yeah. So
yeah, and listen, we got to concern ourselves too that you know, people in the chat room are also bringing this up. You know, raising funds and stuff like that. Before we go, you know, Diop, Lanzini, Rice, those seem to be the names that keep coming up. I guess more so Diop and Rice. Unfortunately, I'd rather see Lanzini get linked more to get the hell out. Is anybody, any of you guys at all, and anybody in the chat room at all, would you keep Lanzini? Any of you? Anybody? Find me somebody, please, and explain why.
I'd consider it.
No.
I'd consider it. And it's more like, I don't like, realistically, it depends what money gets offered. Anything, I don't know, anything 25 instant, yes. Anything below that, anything between 25 and 20, I'd consider. Anything below that, I don't know, you know. I don't know.
I'd take 15 for him at this point.
I'm sure you could find a desperate enough club to spend 20 plus for him, to be honest. You definitely could.
He's had a horrendous season. Let's not beat around the bush. He's been absolutely terrible. But the thing is when he's good, he's very, very good. And he has been at his peak at West Ham. But the problem is he's had a horrendous injury, a couple in a row. His dream of basically playing with like Lionel Messi and all of the greatest players that Argentina have right now got taken away from him in the most Dean Ashton-esque fashion you're ever going to see. It must be genuinely heartbreaking as a footballer to deal with that. That's when it takes the right. That's when it takes the right. That's when it takes the right kind of manager. That's when it takes the right kind of manager to put your arm around the player and to get the best back out of him and to guide him through this situation. Is David Moyes that person? I don't think so, but I would consider it. I would consider keeping him, but only if we didn't get enough money, because if the right money came in, he's gone in a flash, don't get me wrong. But then again, in my opinion, if you get the right money for anyone, they're gone in a flash, and that includes Declan Rice. So.
Yeah, 100%. That definitely includes Declan Rice. That includes Diop. That includes everybody that we mentioned. Anderson was the other one I was thinking of. That was the one that I couldn't put my finger on, but he was been linked a couple times already. That this.
Of anybody to be linked, I really want West Ham to make a genuine effort at trying to go and sign Kovac, because I think that would be a brilliant coach to sign. The gentleman who coached Haller in Germany, I think it'd be brilliant. Yeah, because I mean, when we got Haller. You saw his highlights. The dude was a baller in Germany, and that was his coach, and played a 2-striker system. And the team wasn't terrible that he was coaching. I think he'll play a pretty. Yeah, I think he'll play a pretty attractive style of football.
If you really pay attention to it, it's kind of like it was less of a 2-striker system. It was more like a 1-striker system with 2 false nines almost. It was
whatever works.
It was really bizarre. Not every single match. I mean, they did a lot of shifting and stuff, but for the most part, Jovic was the striker. Period. Haller was like the false 9. Sometimes a target man. Sometimes he just.
Whatever we got to do to get Haller back to that, I'll take it.
A lot of times you see Antonio or someone else. They're bombing down the wing, and they're looking to cross it over the mouth of the goal. I think of Arsenal, but there were other times. And it says when attacking the goal, he backs up, because he was used to being that false 9 where he moves around with Jovic.
That's fair.
So I think he signed a player and then didn't really play to his strengths. And he still was our leading goal scorer. That's my opinion of Haller, personally.
Yeah. Also, it's something Andy Carroll used to do, right? When Andy Carroll would get to the box and the ball is about to get crossed in, he wouldn't just stand at the 6-yard line and wait for it to hit his head. If you watch Andy Carroll play, one of his greatest traits was just starting just outside the box and then attacking the ball. Because ultimately, you can get a much better header and you've got a much higher chance of scoring if you actually run and jump and attack the ball with the header, because you're going to get power behind it. If the ball comes at you and just goes like that, bounces straight off your forehead, you're not going to be able to generate the sort of power you can as if you're running at full pace. So part of me looks at Haller's movement and I think, just put it up in the air. The dude is big. The dude can head the ball. Just let him attack it. Why are we so insistent on not doing these things?
I don't think his typical strength is with his head.
I don't think. Don't get me wrong. I don't think
he moves around, and you're like, "What is he doing?" And then he.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's his thing. He's not Andy Carroll. That's not his thing by any stretch of imagination. But we don't do it though. We just piss about, and it's so frustrating to watch because. There's an obvious. Haller is such an obvious talent. He's obviously talented.
He is
even when he's having a bad game and he's not being effective, he does certain things that just other strikers at West Ham for years haven't done. He has the body. He can hold off like 2 or 3 defenders at once because he's so strong. He can move his body weight in specific ways. His first touch is incredible. It's like. I keep seeing the name Giroud comes up so flipping often. Tim, you spoke about on a show like 2 days ago, whenever it was, right? Like Haller is basically what Giroud used to be. He has it. He has the talent. He drips in it. And if we can't get the best out of someone like Haller, then what the hell are we doing? Because we've signed this guy for £45 million. Most clubs in Europe would have taken him. Like most clubs, we just happen to pay the most. We just happen to want to go down and put a ridiculous amount of money to make it happen, right? If we're not capable of getting the best, or even not even the best, an average level out of someone like Sebastian Haller, we haven't got a chance. What's the point in anything then at that point? It's ridiculous.
We didn't set him up for success. And I saw that Duncan B said in the chat that he wins all his aerial battles, which is true. He has a really high percentage of aerial battle wins.
Yeah.
He doesn't win the aerial battles to head them into the goal. He wins them. He wins them to get to another player or control himself.
So Tone says Haller's a fighter jet in the air, and I say Andy Carroll was like a drunken giraffe in the air.
Andy Carroll's still one of the best headers of the football when he was playing, like in the league. In the league, he definitely was. Sure, but I mean, there wasn't many people who were keeping the ball away from his forehead and the ball.
Yeah, there were certain moments where you said they're going to either do a free kick or there's going to be a cross, and he's not going to be stopped if he does this right.
Yeah.
No one could stop him.
Yeah. And that is the thing you're saying with Haller. Like, I don't have that feeling with Haller.
That's what I'm
saying. Yeah, 100%.
So anyway, I think we're going to wrap this up now. We're going about an hour and 15 minutes. So we do have a show tomorrow night, and that does sound like I think Ray Force is going to be hosting a show. I don't know with who, but with somebody. I think it'll probably be about 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 1 a.m. in the UK. So make sure you tune into that. He's been prepared lately. That Ray Borum, he's been prepared, pulling up PowerPoints and everything else.
Mhm.
So hopefully he wakes up and answers my call. So make sure he gets on that, and I'll try to find some people to join the show with him tomorrow night. I do got to mention also Wednesday night we already have a few guests lined up for a similar situation as this, I guess you say. But Lee's going to be hosting. I'm not sure who else is going to fill out the roster, but I know we're going to have 3 or 4 people with him. I know I have at least 2 booked right now for him, and then Thursday and Friday we'll keep doing and doing and doing. But anyway, long story short, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. And if you had fun tonight, click the like button. And what else? If you're watching on Twitch, Periscope, or Facebook, hop on over and hit the subscribe button. Check out AmericanHammers.net. Yes, we do have merch for sale in the shop. So if you want to actually, rather than just toss some money at us, at least get something tangible in return. We get some really cool stuff for people all over the world, different supporters groups, items, as well as, unique designs. Like we got a West Ham Minecraft shirt in there. You should check out. And what else is there? Oh, yeah. So we got that stuff tomorrow night. I do got to thank David for answering the call tonight and, hopping on with me. And
no worries.
And Selly, always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
And speaking of always answering the call, Charlie Walsh, thank you so much for coming on tonight, brother. And,
No worries, man. Anytime.
I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to beating Ian Bishop on Sunday.
That's right. That's right. Ian Bishop and Alex. Now, the difference between you, Ian, and Alex is that Alex actually, it wasn't even competition. Like the episode that he won to get into this semifinal, he won by a long shot. Like he just destroyed his opposition. So just be careful. He's a sleeper. There's one of those tremors that come from under the ground. And leave everybody up. So just be careful.
I would also like to say that I didn't need the audience vote either, although I did get it and I won as well. I just want to say that. I want to say that because I didn't need it. I was 2, or I think I was 3 ahead, and then the audience vote also went for me. So
Alex had a 6-point lead, and he got the extra 2 points. He had 8. So
Alex, the boy knows it. The boys, listen. I'm just saying.
I was kind of hoping that Tommy was going to win, and then you'd win, and then you guys would end up in the finals together, because that would make for good Hugel topic.
At which he'd lose, because obviously the correct answer is Recall Big George. How often do I have to say it?
Jesus. Anyway, guys, all right, thank you so much. I'll talk to you 3 off the air real quick, but everybody else in the chat room, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Have a good night.